So top 4 match here. Team of Cook, Saracino, and Cotrupe against Huang, Syed, and John. Number 1 seeds here. Bryant will be on the play. Now, you mentioned with the banning of Gataxian Probe, Storm is now a mostly empty the Warrens deck.
Yep, they're going on Rite of Flames. Plan is to go really fast, make a bunch of goblins. I also mentioned that Sneak and Show is one of my least favorite matchups as a Storm player because they present a fast clock with disruption. Cook does have a nice advantage going here. He's leading on a duress, so he gets to know what's in hand. The scariest thing is that Sneak and Show is known to main deck Flusterstorm, and Bob does have 1 copy in his deck.
Yeah, we see in the duress. Okay, there's a land and 2 Emrakul's, but otherwise we have Brainstorm, Preordained Lotus Petal. Not a hand that's particularly soft to duress.
Yeah.
Bob will go ahead and cast Preordain on the first turn here.
Cook takes one of the Brainstorms with no fetch land available. I suppose you're just kind of hedging on one showing up. As it shakes out without a fetch land, Preordain is a little bit better than Brainstorm, but once a fetch land is produced, you obviously get to shuffle away that second Emrakul, make things a little bit better.
Right.
Though 1 Brainstorm will do that. Looks like Bob has Preordained into a Flooded Strand and a City of Traders.
Yeah, City's not terrible here. You may want that one. He'll go top bottom, and looks like he'll actually take the Flooded Strand.
Yeah, he still has a Brainstorm.
Right. Okay, so he needs a fetch land to reset. He'll make Lotus Petal and then pass.
And he makes the Lotus Petal because he does not want that to be hit by a discard spell, also representing that he might have drawn Flusterstorm or Spell Pierce.
Brian Cook resetting. Here's Brainstorm. Looks like he has another Duress in hand. Might be able to take that second Brainstorm. Unless Bob wants to cast a Petal. Or cash in a Petal, rather.
Probably not worth it. Unless he was protecting a Show and Tell. Can't imagine that would be worth it. It's kind of the fun play, Brainstorm versus discard decks. Specifically Duress, because it can't hit Emrakul. If you have a Brainstorm, you can hide whatever you're using to cheat it into play. Show them your hand of creatures, and then bring them down later.
And Duress again. Yeah. The question, like I said here, is does Bob want to use the Petal to cast Brainstorm? It's a not a great situation either way. It's a 2-for-1, right? Either he uses the Petal to hide the Emrakul, or he gets it Duress, and then he has to play the game with a second Emrakul. Both ways, he's kind of losing a card.
Yeah, and his draw for last turn was Gristlebrand. So the hand is Brainstorm and 3 copies of something he only wants 1 copy of, that large creature.
I guess if he casts Brainstorm here, he can blank the Duress. Leave himself with only creatures and lands.
Potentially. Part of the Brainstorm, what he wants it to do is shuffle away one of the creatures, though.
Yeah, maybe even 2 of them.
And if you're hiding spells with the Brainstorm, that means your hand's just creatures at the end of it.
Yeah.
It's a tough spot. I think I'm inclined to let the Duress go off.
And just... Ugh, it's not great. I'm inclined to go with whatever Bob thinks the play is here.
I'll defer to Bob.
All right, he's going to cast the Brainstorm. So that means he has to he only actually gets to hide 1 card here. He has to redraw 1 of them.
I think the card he's hiding is that Flusterstorm, though.
All right, so it's a swing and a miss. Fetch land, Ancient Tomb, and 2 monsters.
Yeah, that's pretty great if I saw that right, and the card he's drawing for turn is Flusterstorm.
Yeah.
Bryant thinks the coast is clear. He might just get everything. He'll still have to assemble a way to cheat one of these creatures into play. Ooh, and it is Flusterstorm.
And that can be great against yeah, very good against an empty. From Cook, we will see Brainstorm. Storm at 1. We're getting to the point where he might be making goblins.
Looks like Lotus Petal, Lion's Eye Diamond available. I believe a Rite of Flame. So Rite of Flame, Lotus Petal from these 2 lands. That's already enough to cast empty.
Going to reset with that fetch land.
Sort of an amusing factor in the development of Storm in the post-Gataxian Probe world. Cook is playing Thoughtseize Duress. When the discard spell was Cabal Therapy, it meant that after you got Goblins, you got to flashback a Cabal Therapy. Now, because of that Flusterstorm, I don't know that Bryant's going to end up getting any Goblins.
Right.
But it is a thing that came up sometimes.
Ponder from Bryant.
And with Bob having drawn that Gristlebrand to supplement the Emrakul, it means that one discard spell isn't going to be able to get both of the creatures out.
Yeah, the discard suite in Bryant's deck is 4 Thoughtseize, 3 Duress, so plenty of ways to actually take one or both monsters. And now Bob going to crack that fetch line. Does not want to draw the second Emrakul. That was the card on top.
Yeah, so Bryant shuffle with the Ponder, drew his card and pass. He only has 3 cards in hand, which is not a large threshold to go off with Storm.
Yeah, it's especially not. No, does he have ways to... I guess this would mean he could get to something like Ad Nauseum would be a great find if he can build up a lot of mana.
Right.
Really only one land away from something like Lotus Petal, Crack Petal, cast Ad Naus.
It is a matchup where sometimes you empty and then you're as good as dead on the next turn.
Right.
So it makes sense to try to go for a Tendrils kill.
Ryan, show and tell was the draw from Bob. Hold on, he's just going to go ahead and make one. It was a great hit with that Flusterstorm in hand.
Yeah, this one should
resolve.
be wrapped up.
See which one Bob puts into play. It is Gristlebrand.
Drawing extra cards is not bad. With that extra draw 7 online, with the mana available, we might see Bob even able to sneak attack an Emrakul in addition on the following turn.
Bryant can't do anything about it. So in the face of the 7/7, he picks up the cards, and Bob Huang takes game 1.
It's also just true that losing Gataxian Probe diminished Storm's velocity a little bit.
It's also just true that we haven't seen Bob Huang drop a game to anyone.
Why would you lose? Seems foolish.
Zan wanted to go for the back-to-back wins. The best part of his strategy was emailing Bob Huang and saying, hey, what are you doing in 2 weeks?
I will recruit an unbeatable legacy player. That way I just have to win some portions of my matches, and Julian John just has to win some portion of his matches.
Well, Zan's like X1 on the day. I don't know if Bob Huang's XO. I mean, that can't actually, mathematically that can't be true. They lost 3 times.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen it happen, but I assume it can happen.
Rumor has it.
Yeah, rumor has it.
I don't have any confirmation.
Rumor has it Bob drops games.
Yeah.
Let's look at the sideboards. Bob Huang's on Sneak and Show. He's playing on Storm. He's got 4 Graph Digger's Cage. Not actually as much of a flashback deck. Don't know if I like that. The Arcane Artisans, instead of Through the Breaches, we're seeing that as his more extra copies of Show and Tell. He's got Blood Moon, Abrade, Pyroclasm, Defense Grid, and Boseiju. I don't care for much of this.
Yeah, the one thing I might reach for, I don't mind the Pyroclasms. Sometimes Bryant is just going to make some Goblins. And then you can make him lose the game on the spot by casting Pyroclasm.
All right, I can like Pyroclasm. On Brian's side, Abrupt Decay, Xantid Swarm, Echoing Truth, Chain of Vapor, and then he has this wish board of Empty the Warrens, Grapeshot, Passive Flames, Massacre, Tendrils, Dark Petition. Boy, I could... anything? No?
No, you can't fight any fights with Chain of Vapor. Once Gristlebrand's on the table,
you lose.
Forget about it. The game is over. When I was playing Storm, I had a couple Flusterstorms in my sideboard. Those are the only things that I brought in because you need to fight over their combo. You need to fight over their Flusterstorm. What Bryant wants to do is fire off discard spells and try to go for some kind of Storm finish. You hope that he's able to like Ad Nauseum into Tendrils. More likely it's just Goblins, but this sideboard's not really helping him do any of that.
No, they're going to shuffle up for their second game. So we missed earlier in the weekend. This weekend we've been talking about the new token. Aaron Barrett was our invitational winner. With Infect back in June, and chose to be a soldier token. So didn't want to have the Infect token, respecting of Tom Ross on that one. But this one, for Elspeth's Sons Champions, a great token here, and you see this art now debuted. You can get this starting in mid-August at the Dallas Open, August 18th and 19th, and also shipped from Star City Games earlier than that. If you can't wait until then, it's July 27th, any order of at least $5.
Yeah, Barrich and Tom Ross, both Louisiana players.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to step on his toes there.
He'd have the same crest. Part of the. Matthew Cotrupe, Brian's teammate, their last second edition, helping out though. He picks up game 1 over Julian John. Again, we might see Zan having to win his way through to the finals.
Fitting. Got to beat the champ to become the champ.
You know, a lot of times, I don't know, Ryan, how much you watch like pro wrestling, but if you got a guy who's this unstoppable guy, but you need him, he's got the belt, and you need him to lose the belt, what you do is you put
him.
No, you put him in a team match where he wins. Like you put him in a team match, but you let his partner get pinned, and then he loses the belt, and they're like, oh, what a, you know.
That is just the worst storytelling I've ever heard.
Well,
in
it's
my
because
life.
like you like need someone else to have the belt, but like you don't want this guy to seem weak. I'm saying, if Zan's truly unstoppable, the only way you can beat him is by beating both his teammates.
I like the arcs where they just fire the champion. Like, you can't wrestle anymore. Someone else gets that belt.
Oh yeah, I mean when the manager's in on it, you know, sometimes the manager and then like the villain are coordinating, and then they'll steal the belt. It's horrible.
Coverage colleague Cedric Phillips, of course, a huge wrestling fan. I want to say he linked a promo, and that's literally a story arc that's happening right now. They just fired the champ and made one of the GMs the champ.
Yeah. Well, there's stuff. It's more complicated than that.
That's funny. I don't care. That's very funny.
Yeah.
That makes some of the fans so mad. That's hilarious.
Well, the GM has a constable right now too, but that guy's also no good. He's part of the fix. Okay. So you can report your complaints to the constable. We'll see what he thinks about it.
That's fantastic. I really need to watch more wrestling. That stuff is just
By
hilarious.
the way, he sides with the management.
Oh, that's surprising. Some really great characters over the years.
Looks like 6 cards here for Bob Huang. He'll scry to the bottom. We're thinking about it.
Scry somewhere.
Look at he was picking up the deck. Hold on.
And I believe that I do spot a Pyroclasm in Bob's hand.
Not too bad here, especially against an early empty.
Yep. And it's just another card that Bryant probably wants to duress, which is part of the problem with this matchup. They have so many things that you want to duress. You have so few duresses.
Only 7.
That's it. That's it. And every duress you draw is not a combo card.
I hear that. Scry was ending in the end to the bottom for Bob Huang.
Right, fetch for Underground Sea for Cook. Is it Ponder or is it Duress? Maybe it's Dark Ritual.
It's going to be Duress. Show and Tell. And now we'll get a look at, again, he's been boarding it in a lot and do as well. We have Arcane Artisan, the Battle Bond card. We also have a Preordained Pyroclasm and 2 lands. So Arcane Artisan is just... he's playing instead of Through the Breach. It's like an extra slot for more show and tell style effects. This one's a creature though, which means you can't duress it. So Bob will lose the show and tell, but Arcane Artisan, that one's still there.
The other thing I liked about it is it's a blue card.
It pitches to force.
Yeah.
The floor on blue cards in Legacy is only so low.
Right. Now you do want them to do something when you cast them, and this one checks that box.
That's nice. Yeah, it's nice when they do that. Once Arcane Artisan's in play in this matchup, there's no way for Bryant Cook to remove it.
Yeah, Storm not great at dealing with permanents. I'd be amazed if he boarded in Chain of Vapor or Echoing Truth.
Dude, it survives Pyroclasm.
Ooh, 3 toughness. What an ability.
You can just cast it, and then he empties, you Clasm, and say, what, I still have my show and tell right here.
Too easy.
Just don't cast 2 Pyroclasms.
Yeah, so the show and tell is an easy pick with the duress, and looks like, I want to say there's a large creature in the hand now.
So Bryant will have to produce a Thoughtseize if he wants to take Arcane Artisan.
Bryant knows that empty is no good, which means that likely the plan is to try to build up to an ad nauseum, try to make a big turn where you tendrils on that turn.
Yeah, he's either going to Thoughtseize again or he's planning for a Tendrils. He saw the Pyroclasm and didn't take it.
Notable thing about this configuration is that Cook's Past in Flames is in the sideboard. So for a Past in Flames turn, you have to Burning Wish for it, which costs quite a lot of mana.
So Ryan, it's another Duress from Bryant, except that the two halves of Bob's combo are both creatures. You can take the Preordain, and he will, and there's the Thoughtseize for Arcane Artisan. Okay, he does have the other half of it covered. But I was going to say, we just have creature plus creature. Maybe he's cold to it.
Right.
Leaving your opponent with Pyroclasm Emrakul. This is why when people sometimes have never played Legacy before, look at the format, and they're like, this is weird.
Does anything ever happen in these games?
You're just like, what's your hand? Well, I have Pyroclasm, and I have this 15 drop. How many lands do you have in play? 1.
No one's attacking.
Does he have does he have creatures?
Who's
no.
winning? Who's winning? Tell me who's winning. No one's attacking.
It's 16 to 19.
The guy left at 16, so he's probably losing. 16 actually pretty relevant, as Bob did draw Sneak Attack.
Okay. That's an excellent draw.
Oh, yeah.
Ponder from Bryant.
Ponder following a Brainstorm usually means you want to shuffle unless you found a really nice one.
Bryant passes. But in all this Duressing and Thoughtseizing, he's down to 3 cards. Again, he's a Storm deck. He needs material.
Ooh.
And here's another. Who cares about the Sneak Attack? Here's another Arcane Artisan.
Yeah, that makes that token Emrakul. That means that doesn't matter. It's only for 15. It'll annihilate lands.
I've never seen token Emrakul before. I think it might be a first here.
Yeah.
Now, so Rite of Flame from Bryant. Rite of Flame again. Storm is up to 2. He's moving awfully quick. Dark Ritual. Storm up to 3. 7 mana floating. Infernal Tutor. Storm is up to 4. 5 mana floating.
All right. So it looks like, I assume this is for Ad Nauseam.
Yeah, unless there's some sort of Dark Petition line, and he's put Dark Petition in the deck. It is for Ad Nauseam, you're right. Storm is up to 5, and floating, he has 1 black mana.
Now, depending how many Empty the Warrens are in the deck, those really lower your odds. If you hit those, it's just so much life. From 16, there's something to play with. You have 1 floating. No land drop this turn just yet. So technically, we'll be starting from 2 mana. I think his odds are quite good. He probably is low on Empty the Warren still in the deck.
Well, let's see. So some 16, a Petal, a Chrome Mox. Xanted Swarms to 15. A bunch more artifact mana. Rite of Flames to 14. Burning Wishes to 12. Thoughtseize to 11. Ponder to 10. More mana. More mana.
This is looking good.
Duress to 9. Infernal Tutor to 7. Burning Wish to 5, Infernal Tutor to 3, and now we have to stop. But with all this artifact mana he picked up, this seems like it should be a walk in the park.
There's a ton of zeros. He has the Lion's Eye Diamond.
Yeah.
Storm's already at 5.
I think he has 3 Petals and a Chrome Mox and an LED. Yep. Storm's up to 9, 10. All he's got to do is find a Tendrils. That should be easy enough. Burning Wish for Tendrils. Rite of Flame, Burning Wish.
Yeah, he has Infernal Tutor too, so whether it's in the deck or the sideboard, I'll be able to find it.
And cracks LED with Wish on the stack. In the sideboard, is there a Tendrils? This is more than enough if there is. Shows it. That'll do. We'll move on to game 3. It is possible. Bob Huang loses games.
You saw how quickly Bryant moved after he resolved that Ad Nauseam. I think that's the difference between me and players that regularly play Storm. After I resolve Ad Nauseam, I'm always trying to propose shortcuts. Like, look at all this stuff. You're probably going to lose. Are you going to make me do it? I gotta actually do it. I gotta cast these spells. Yeah. I have 15 cards in my hand. What do you think is going to happen? It's not going to be good for you.
See, sometimes I'm on the side when I'm learning a new combo deck. I want, like, the first time I was learning Casey, I'd just be like, look at all this stuff in my hand. And they'd be like, okay. And I'd be like, I don't know. I think I've won. I'm hoping you just accept it. And I don't want to.
Right.
I don't,
Please just concede to me. I don't know what to do.
Right. It's probably lethal.
It's going to take me a while to figure this out. But I can continue to cast spells, and they're like mana neutral and replace himself on cards.
That seems pretty broken. I'm going to do a lot of that. You should just scoop to it.
I'm going to do that, and you're probably dead. I don't know. If people are playing this deck, I think it's because you're dead now.
Like, this is definitely the article I read on it seems to imply that this is definitely the part where you're dead. So, Ryan, we have an update from our other table. Mike Sigrist with Palawan defeats his Storm opponent.
Oh, wow.
2-0.
I see.
Over Dylan Gooley. You'll have to find another win to move it on to the finals, though.
Yeah, I never liked the Storm matchup playing Hollow One. To be fair, you can Burning Inquiry for that triple Thoughtseize in some of the games.
Let's get all their lands.
Oh, look, all your good cards.
That's your out in all your bad matchups. If I Burning Inquiry all your lands away, and you just don't play cards.
It's nice to have that option.
It's good in all the matchups.
Yes. Not so good against Dredge. Our director Taylor is a big Dredge fan. All right, players looking at their opening sevens. Bob would like to not be Duress and Thoughtseize so much this game.
Yeah, Bryant almost playing this counter-punching role where he's playing a bunch of discard and then storming as opposed to racing.
And that is largely Storm's role in the combo matchup. You technically have access to some turn ones. The thing about them is you don't want to go for it against Force of Will decks. And other combo decks are kind of on average faster than you. So you just want to be able to slow them down, the dresses, to take the show and tells, stuff like that. Find time to convincingly go for a combo. We did see Bob go to 6 in game 2. He's not seeming too confident in this hand, but he just decided to keep on 7.
Yeah, and when he does, now Bryant will take a turn on 6.
Storm is not a deck that's great at mulliganing. We saw in those games Cook going off from very low resource scenarios. If you can get the mana to cast the Ad Nauseam with some extra mana floating around, clearly that will be able to do the trick. But the actual Tendrils kills without doing that are really tough. Having fewer cards makes it harder to both do that and even to get to the mana threshold to cast Ad Nauseam in the first place. You're still quite capable of making a good chunk of zombies with fewer cards, or goblins rather, with fewer cards in hand. But this is a matchup where that game plan is not particularly good. Against the other combo decks, I usually just tried to be off that plan entirely.
Brian keeping on 6 with a scry to the top. And here we go. First, Bob starts off just a single land. He has our Arcane Artisan in the opener. He also has two Force of Wills. Don't know if he has any more land.
Yeah, he has Flusterstorm, Pyroclasm, Sneak Attack. Yeah, I don't see a second land.
Well, Zan's got to get some help from Bob Huang here. Matthew Cotrupe wins the match in Standard. So, Cotrupe with that win, it's Saracino or Cook needing to get a win.
Duress there for Cook, and Bob immediately Flusterstorms. Protects that information, which I like a lot about that play. He both has Force of Will and Pyroclasm.
Brainstorm from Cook.
And Bob's hand, you know, it's missing the large creature, it's missing the lands, but he has a really good mix of disruption, which is very likable with his hand. I see why this was a stressful decision. If he peels lands for the next turn, starts drawing Ponders, Brainstorms, his hand could shape up into a really explosive hand very quickly with a good mix of disruption.
Some updates. Game 1, Jacob Saracino wins. So Bob Huang and Zan Syed needing to pick up all the remaining games.
It's a tough spot.
Legacy Classic players.
We did see Zan rally in the last match in the top 8. This is the first time we've seen Bob lose a game, though.
Thought sees from Brian Cook. We'll see where we're looking at. Is this worthy of a Force of Will?
I would assume not.
No, we have Pyroclasm, Sneak Attack, 2 Force of Wills, and we have our Arcane Artisan.
And this hand is pretty tough to Thoughtseize. If you take 1 Force of Will, Bob's left with the other. If you take Sneak Attack or the Arcane Arcanist, he's left with the other. The Pyroclasm's not that inviting, and honestly, Cook's plan probably revolves around trying to go for Tendrils anyway.
He'll take the Force of Will. But Bob's hand still leaves some things to be desired. He needs more mana, and he needs a creature to put into play.
Right. Looks like he checked the more mana box. Scalding Tarn was the draw for turn.
All right, so he could make the Arcane Artisan this turn. A lot of
that would turn off his Force of Will is the thing.
Yeah, that's a scary part, but because Arcane Artisan is a creature with a tap ability, unlike Show and Tell, you have to set it up ahead of time. And I think that's enough of a consideration that Bob's going to go ahead and take the Force of Will down.
Right. And Cook has fired off multiple discard spells. His hand could just be cantrips left over, maybe more discard spells. He's not guaranteed to have leftovers that can combo. And he knows about the Force of Will, so he doesn't have it. He's going to wait anyway, and things might get worse for Bob. It's like a 5-card hand currently for Cook. One of the cards is Burning Wish. Unfortunate thing about Burning Wish is it doesn't chain to ad nauseum. The stuff he wants to go off in this matchup is very much Dark Rituals, getting up to ad nauseum, maybe using Lion's Eye Diamond and an Infernal Tuner to track that one down, but because it's an instant, you can't hide that one on the sideboard. If he had some rituals, he could Burning Wish for Past in Flames and set up for the following turn that way.
Here is Burning Wish. We'll see if that is the play.
Maybe he has a discard spell on the sideboard?
Okay. Well, is there too much you need to discard anymore? Right? At this point, you just hope Bob doesn't draw the creature.
Yeah, I mean, you also hope he doesn't draw the blue card for the Force of Will.
Sure. Finds Ponder.
And yikes. And Bob probably going to sit back and hang on to the Animus activation on Cook's turn. I believe you could do that at instant speed.
Right, so Arcane Artisan actually does draw, then exile, so it is a looter as well.
Yeah, you can always just activate it.
You don't have to have the creature just yet. And I do like sitting back on that, because then he can leave up Force of Will.
Right. The card drawn was Ponder, but I guess if you Ponder and you keep a 3-card configuration that has land creature, you'll know you'll be able to make the creature, but I don't think that's worth hanging on to the Force of, or going off of the Force of Will.
Ryan, if your top 3 cards has a creature in it, you'll find it using the Artisan at the same speed.
Right. Yeah, I'm just trying to piece together why Bob didn't make the decision faster. These are the considerations. Okay. I do think that they're all worse.
It might be that Artisan's a pretty new card. I mean, despite as much legacy as he plays, I can't imagine he played too much with it yet.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen him have it in multiple games so far. We haven't seen him activate it yet.
That's true. So Brian Cook spent last turn using Burning Wish, and now it looks like we might have a big turn. Here is Ad Nauseum, using Lotus Petal.
That's worth a Force of Will.
Yeah, I'd force that. Well, first we'll loot with the Arcane Artisan. Draws Show and Tell.
Probably discard Pyroclasm. Or I guess you can just
sneak
attack.
Sneak Attack.
Yeah, that's not doing much.
So now he can get Force plus blue card, and you can keep the Ponder if he'd like.
Yeah, you can, pitch that Show and Tell, and then some draws allow you to Ponder into activating the Arcanist for a creature on the following turn. And if that creature's Gristlebrand, that can amount to having more Force of Will backup.
Yeah, exiles the Sneak Attack to the Artisan, and then pitches Show and Tell to the Force of Will. And so, Ad Nauseum in the graveyard.
And we know that Cook has Past in Flames, but he hasn't cast any rituals this game. So it'd be surprising if he's able to come up with a good Past in Flames turn.
Ponder from Bob. There is an Emrakul in the top 3. And his top 3 is Emrakul, Gristlebrand.
If he didn't draw a land, that means he could set up for next turn keeping these.
Yeah.
You probably just want to keep these.
It's pretty funny. He has, it was Emrakul, Gristlebrand.
Ooh, and he does have land.
So he has the City of Traders. He will activate the Arcane Artisan, exiles Gristlebrand, makes a Gristlebrand token, can draw 7.
And he can just sit on that draw 7, try to draw to a Force of Will if he thinks he needs one. And that plays better on discard spells as well. Though Burning Wish plus one other card at a Storm, it's hard to imagine Cook being able to do anything meaningful on this turn.
Yeah, it's Past in Flames plus a card.
Right, yeah, Past in Flames. Looks like there's a clarification on what that Arcane Animist even does, or Artisan rather. But yeah, there's a Gristlebrand, it's just hanging out.
Lion's Eye Diamond, the draw for Bryant.
Lion's Eye Diamond's a good mana source, but when you cast Past in Flames, you need them to be rituals. You don't get to flashback LED. It combines with Yawgmoth's Will, not with Past in Flames. That's why they banned Yawgmoth's Will.
Right. Bryant will start by casting Past in Flames. Gives all the cards in his graveyard flashback. And Bob's going to take a look at it, so will we. It's Duress.
Flashback these spells I don't have mana for.
Ad Nauseam, Duress, Brainstorm. I'm not that concerned on Bob's side. I mean, you can use Gristlebrand to just try to draw into a Force of Will and then